All right, welcome back, yogis. My name is Sesa. If you're new to the 1 hour yin and yang, this is Casey. She will be demonstrating for us today. Make sure you do have your blocks, props, pillows, books, anything handy, as you will need them in the second portion, maybe in the first. But other than that, we'll get started in child's pose. So just sitting towards the back of your mat on the tops of the feet and the shins. Big toes touch. Knees can touch as well, unless you prefer to open them a comfortable width apart. Arms can extend forward or down the sides of your body. But just taking the first few moments of the class to really allow yourself to make that shift. Working your way into stillness. Settling on the mat into your body, acknowledging the mind. And knowing that this is probably not the only time you'll do this, especially within the second portion of class, but more often than not, this checking in is a continual process. And one huge component to it is the breath. So we'll just start by letting go of a nice long exhale. And then take a deep inhale through the nose, send that breath to the hook of your tailbone, feel your ribs expand out horizontally. Then open up your mouth and just audibly let it go. Let's take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose, filling from the bottom to the top and holding your breath. Unless you're pregnant, you always want to keep breathing. Then open up the mouth and just sigh it out. One more long, deep inhale. Take it slower than you think you can. Hold. And then keeping the lips sealed, go ahead and just slowly exhale out the nose. And then breathing in and out your nose as slowly and as deeply as you can. Just finding some of Ri to He, which means a balanced breath. Nothing forced, just mindful, rhythmic, balanced and even. And then if you have something like Ujjayi Pranayama in your practice, feel free to tap into it. And if you're still with me, on an inhale, we'll extend the arms long to the front of the mat. Open the hands up, shoulders distance apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog. We'll just lift the hips, tuck the toes, press the heels towards the earth. So feel free to pedal out the feet, maybe come up and down on the toes a few times, whatever feels right to the body. Get past any shifting, fidgeting that feels appropriate. Make sure you do take a quick look at the hands. They should be jutting straight out from the shoulders. Ideally, it's your index and middle finger that points straight forward. If you're sensitive in the wrists or super tight in your shoulders, you can turn your hands a little further out. But then as you relax your head and neck, just looking back at the feet, make sure they rest at least hips distance apart. Make your heels spin back and just slightly out so they disappear behind your toes. And then even if you have to bend the knees, especially first downward dog of the day, we want to lift the hip creases straight up to the sky, releasing the lower back. Knit the front ribs and even the sternum bone slightly in so you're not dumping into the upper back. You want to accentuate the natural curves and convexes of your spine. Keep the height of your hips, but begin to push the tops of your thighs straight back to help anchor your heels down, even if they don't touch. And then keeping the head and neck relaxed, let's just consciously think about the hands. Can you lift just your fingertips up off the mat? You want the palm to become like a suction cup. So the outer ridge of the palm presses down and the inner palm maybe slightly lifts. And then as you spread your fingers wide, fan them into the mat, root each knuckle, ending with your fingertips. Now can you keep your hands as they are, but you're going to hug your shoulder blades to the outer rib cage. That's called protraction. Wrapping your triceps back, and then I want you to think of lifting your forearms forward. And then with an inhale, let's come forward, high plank or top of a push-up. Hips level out with the shoulders, heels push back through the wall behind you. Thighs firm up towards the ceiling against the weight of your hips, staying level with the shoulder blades. Even if you have to drop to the knees for modification, tuck your tailbone towards your heels so you can pull your belly tight. With your wrists, elbows, shoulders stacked, you want to push down so much into your hands that the natural reaction is your chest and the back of your head lift. As the space between your shoulders gets very broad, make sure you're not doming or getting that cat shape. You want to slide the shoulder blades down the back. Close your eyes, soften your face, relax your jaw, and just breathe. Take a nice deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog, lift your hips up and back. Inhale, come forward, high plank. And exhale, pull it up and back, downward dog. One more, inhale, roll forward like a wave. And exhale, pulling back. Now we're going to take that a step further with a modification. Let's inhale to high plank. From high plank, I just want you to drop the knees to the mat. Now tuck your tailbone to the space between your knees so you don't dump into the lower back. Lean your shoulders forward. Exhale, bend your arms halfway. Elbows scrape your ribs. Don't go lower than your elbows. And then inhale, press your arms straight. Exhale, lift your hips, downward facing dog. So we're going to take that up a notch in intensity. Inhale, come to high plank. Again, keep the toes tucked, but drop your knees, tuck your tailbone to your knees, lean your shoulders forward. Exhale, halfway down, pause, hug your elbows in, keep looking forward. Drive your right heel back so you actually firm your right thigh up, lifting the knee off the ground. Soften the face. Release the knee back down. Inhale, push your arms straight, and exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. So unfortunately, we have to do the other side. Inhale, come forward, high plank. Drop the knees. Make sure you tuck your tailbone. That's essential. Pull the belly in as you lean forward. Exhale, halfway down. Now drive the left heel back, firming the left thigh bone up, taking away some of that structure. Belly in. Release the left knee down. Inhale, push up. Exhale, downward dog. Now let's inhale to high plank. The final and third stage, drop your knees, tuck your tailbone down, lean forward, exhale, halfway, modified chaturanga. Now pull the belly tight. Can you drive both heels back to firm both thighs up? Oh yeah. Keep the knees lifted, inhale, high plank. Ooh. Exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. So as we go throughout this, remember that you can always take any of those versions of chaturanga. If you do one knee at a time, just make sure you do even it out throughout the practice. But for now, let's add a back bend into everything. Inhale, high plank. As you lean out, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. Now from downward dog, let's inhale the right leg to the sky. Flex the heels, square off that right hip. We have a tendency to roll the hip open because the leg goes higher, but wrap the outer right hip down. Press evenly into both palms. Pull the belly tight. Press the heel up and back a little more. Take an inhale, stretch. Exhale, pull the knee down and across to your left elbow. Find that little twist. And then inhale, kick the leg up and back. Exhale, pull the knee to your right elbow, outer shoulder, even tricep if you can. Inhale, stretch the leg high, and exhale, knee to the left. Inhale, press it back, and exhale to the right. And you'll just go side to side like this on your own, breath per movement. So remember, it's the inhale that initiates that lift to the sky. It's the top of your inhale where your heel is at its highest point. The exhale begins the pull to the body, and it's the bottom of your exhale that taps the knee to the arm. So use the full cycle of breath to find this movement. Allowing the movement to be guided by the breath. And then with an inhale, we'll extend the leg up. Bend the knee, open your hip, relax the head and neck, wrap the outer right rib cage down, keep the torso square. Now find the tippy toes of your back foot to create more space between your chest and the ground. Push more into your hands. Now lift your head to look between your wrists. Exhale, knee to chest. Step next to your right thumb. Staying on the back toes, I want you to think cobra, up dog in your shoulders. Think high plank in that back leg. Lower belly pulls in away from the thigh, and then just reach your right arm forward as if you're reaching out to shake my hand. Get as long as you can by gluing that right hip crease back, as if you're hooking your right sit bone to the inner left thigh. Create that space. Now, whether you're on the fingertips of your left hand or your hand is now flat on the floor, press into the left palm and begin to revolve or twist right shoulder on top of the left. That right palm will naturally face the mat. Left thigh will naturally lift towards the sky. Heel pushes back, belly pulls in. Roll the left shoulder blade away from the ear. Soften the face. Now, just like we entered, take an inhale, steer from your core, slowly square your torso off, reaching forward with that right hand, and then can you meet it with the left? Left leg anchors, lower belly pulls tight. Now keep both arms extending forward, knit the front ribs in, and begin to revolve again. Try and twist, an unsupported variation. Right shoulder begins to lean towards the sky, left shoulder towards the mat. Soften in the face. Squeeze those inner thighs closer together. Press back into your back foot just as much as you are into the front foot. Slowly square off your torso, lift the arms a little higher, and then exhale, hands down. Pull the front leg straight, relax the head and neck. And remember, straight is a very relative term. All you really need to do is push all the weight into the middle of your front foot. So where your ankle connects into the top of your foot, that's where you want the weight to go. The hamstring will naturally lift up towards your sit bone. If you can get both hips to push up and back like they do in down dog, the spine will fall forward and down. Think belly to thigh, chest to knee, forehead to shin. Crown of the head towards your big toe. Breathe in and out your nose. And then slowly, little bend in that front knee. Let's lift the back leg up, vertical splits. Relax the head and neck. Another forward fold, squaring off that left hip, inner left thigh rotating towards the ceiling. Same thing as we just did, belly to thigh, chest to knee, forehead towards shin. Try to keep the spine long. Maybe having the arms wide, bowing at the elbows. Any variation you really would prefer with your hands. Just make sure your shoulders aren't hiking up to the ears. Breathe. And then let's inhale, lift that left heel a little high. As you exhale, set the left foot down, big toe to big toe, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, plant the hands, step back, high plank. And as you feel ready, lean forward with the inhale, exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, leading with your inner left thigh, let's lift the left leg to the sky. Remember, the hip should be neutral, which means it's not rolling open to the ceiling, but it's not collapsing or sagging to the mat. Press into the palms to lift that left heel a little higher, find a deeper stretch. And then exhale, pull the knee down and over to the right. First we twist. Inhale, stretch the leg up and back. Exhale, pull the knee to the outer left arm, elbow, tricep, shoulder. Inhale, kick it high, and exhale to the right. On your own, breath per movement, take it up into either arm. Follow your breath. And just begin to notice if the movement forces the breath. We call that cardio. Has a time and place, but this is not it. Let the breath guide your movement. The longer and slower your breath is, the more drawn out the movement will be. With your next inhale, we'll lift that leg up and back, bend the knee, roll your left hip open. But remember, keep the torso square, hug that right hip back, and think of lifting your right hip crease up along with the tip of your left knee. Now find the tippy toes of your back foot, push into your hands to lift your head, take an inhale. Exhale, knee to chest, stepping next to your left thumb. Popping up onto the fingertips of your hands, cobra, up dog in the shoulders, high plank in that back leg, perfect square in your front leg. Pull the belly tight, hug your left hip back as you extend that left arm forward. So if you're reaching out to shake somebody's hand, so the palm faces your head. Wrap that left tricep down. Notice if the shoulder is rotating up. Keep it square for now. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Now, whether you're up on the right fingertips or you're pushing into the palm, wrap your right tricep back and begin to push into that hand to twist your left shoulder on top of the right. So trying not to use so much leverage necessarily, but knitting the front ribs and leaning your torso away from the thigh. Really, it's the right side ribs working towards the inner left thigh that will help revolve you back. Whether you look up underneath your left arm, straight out to the wall, to the side of you, or down to the mat is up to you. But breathe. Keep that back leg active. Pull the belly in. Slowly square your torso off, reaching the left arm forward. Once you pull the front body in, maybe extend the right arm forward to meet it. Energize the legs. Squeeze the inner thighs closer together. Hug the front body together. Now keeping the arms extending forward, begin to rotate again, right ribs towards your inner left thigh, the rest of your torso leans away from it. So learning to steer with our core. Breathe. Pressing evenly into the feet. Pulling the belly tight, slowly square your torso off. Pause, lift the arms a little higher, take an inhale. Exhale, hands down, pull your front leg straight, relax the head and neck. So remember, just finding a stretch in the back of your left leg is really what you're going for. And if you're on the more bendy side, maybe that means flexing your left foot up if you did that on the other side. But hugging the left hip back, pressing both hips up and back, letting the spine fall the length of your leg. Keep breathing in and out the nose. And then a little bend in that front knee. Lift the back leg up, vertical splits. Flex that back heel. Make sure you check in with the hips. The back ridge of your pelvis should be level. Crown of your head falling towards that left big toe. Hug the left hip back, push the left thigh back. And then inhale, lift that right heel a little higher. Exhale, set the right foot next to left. Inhale, flat back. And the next time, exhale, just fold. Now with the same flat back, inhale, Tadasana. Circle your arms all the way up towards the sky. Exhale, hands to heart center, Samasthiti. Inhale, Tadasana, arms fall before they rise. Exhale, forward fold, hinge at the hips. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, Chaturanga in your own time. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha or upward facing. And exhale, Adho Mukha, downward facing. From downward dog, we will inhale, bend the knees, draw your hips back, look forward. Exhale, take a giant step, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky, Tadasana. Exhale, Samasthiti, prayer in front of your heart. Round two, inhale, circle the arms for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, Chaturanga. Continue this one on your own, and we will meet in downward dog. So from downward dog, I'll get you back to the front of the mat, and you'll go through one on your own. So with an inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or hop to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, Tadasana, rise, find the peak of the mountain. Exhale, Samasthiti, prayer in front of your heart. Inhale, Tadasana. Continue, exhale, flow with your breath. If you forget something, skip past it. Take your time, there's no rush, and we will find downward dog. So from downward dog, breathing in and out your nose. Let's inhale the right leg to the sky. Bend the knee, open your hip. Relax the head and neck. Wrap that outer right shoulder down towards the mat. Now find the tippy toes of that back foot. As you exhale, you're going to pull the knee down and across to your left elbow. And then swipe it out past your right arm towards the side of the room and then back up to the sky, opening the hip. Now exhale, take it back out to the right side of the room towards your right arm, but you're going to sweep it in and towards the left. Inhale, lift the leg up and back, open the hip. Exhale, pull the knee down and over to the left. Big circle out to the right and then back up to the sky, open it up. Exhale out to the right and pulling it into the left. Circle it up and back, open it up. So on your own, be mindful, exhale, you pull it into the left first, find the circle out and open, and then you circle it out and in. So you're reversing the movement within that hip. Our hip is a ball and socket joint, so it's important that we give it the rotation in all the directions. Try and make it as fluid as possible. Then wherever you're at, we'll meet with the leg opening. I want you to floint that right foot. So it means point your foot but flex your toes as if you're wearing a high heel. Keep that. You're going to begin to drift forward to a high plank. Once your wrists and shoulders stack, you'll let the right toes touch down behind you. Reach your right arm up and overhead. Wild thing. So you want to land on the toes as if you're wearing like a 6-inch high heel. Left leg stays straight like it would in a high plank, but you're on the knife edge of that back foot. Roll the left shoulder blade down the back. Your top arm, the palm should face the mat. Maybe you can even look back at your fingertips. Lift through the heart, the chest, rather than the hips, so you're not collapsing the lower back. Take a deep inhale. With control, exhale, right hand down, kick your right leg up and back, three-legged dog. And then exhale, pull the knee to the chest, step next to your right thumb. Staying on the back toes, let's inhale, reach to the sky, crescent pose. So bending into the back knee as much as you need to get that left heel to stack directly with the ball mount of your foot. Tuck your tailbone down, neutralize your pelvis. Pull the lower belly tight to support and maintain that. And then work your inner thighs away from each other. Inner right thigh draws forward and down. Knee stacks with the ankle. Inner left thigh works this way back but also up. Front ribs knit in. Arms are straight and strong, and they should lift from your waist. And the shoulder blades by nature will lift, but you want the muscles in the tops of your shoulders to soften and drop down the back. Maybe even look up towards your hands. Slowly pull the hands to heart center. Lean your chest halfway forward. Lift the left thigh. Pull the belly tight. And then slowly just twist left elbow to the outside of that right knee. Elbows stack, palms press, right hip hugs back, left thigh bone lifts up. So if this is enough, stay here and just breathe. If you want to go a little further, you're going to keep your twist but look down to the mat for balance. And now you'll lean so far forward that by nature the back foot just begins to float and hover up off the mat for a bent knee, twisted warrior 3. Left leg is extremely active. Lower belly pulls tight. That standing leg is still bent. Your face is hopefully soft. Now wherever you're at, as gently as you can, you're going to set your left foot next to right. Line up the heels rather than the toes and sit low, Parivrita Utkatasana. Hug your left hip back so your knees line up. Make your thighs heavy to lower the hips. The lower the hips get, the longer the spine gets. The longer the spine, the deeper the twist. If you want to maybe fly your arms, your left hand to the outer edge of the foot, right arm towards the sky. Again, look to wherever's comfortable within your cervical spine. Breathe in and out your nose. And just because it's everybody's favorite pose, inhale, chair. Hips stay low, arms reach up as you lift the chest. Ah. And then exhale, forward fold, let it go. Inhale, flat back. As you exhale, plant the hands and let's just step the left foot way back, land on the toes. Deep lunge, turn your left heel down. Lead with your left arm, warrior 2, come on up. So line up the feet. Your front heel lines up the back heel or back arch. Make sure your back toes do turn slightly forward, at least 10 degrees, up in front of the heel. Tuck your tailbone down, pull the lower belly tight. The rest of the spine is lifting up. The arms are pulling and sprawling apart. So you're gonna keep everything. You're just gonna begin to push into that front foot and slowly straighten the leg. Right hamstring lifts to the sit bone. Reach your right arm forward. Keep hugging that right hip back as if somebody were pulling the right crease back. And then exhale, right hand to your shin, top of the foot, left arm to the sky. Trikonasana. So I want you to lift the toes up off the mat. Find the base of your feet. And then keeping all the other toes lifted, can you just push down into your front big toe and the back pinky toe? If your hands do something weird with it, that's normal. It's a very weird thing to think about doing. Now, can you keep the feet the way they are, but soften within the knees and squeeze your inner thighs closer together? You want to feel your thighs, your inner thighs, your quads, your hamstrings all lift towards the groin. Wrap the outer edge of your right calf, knee, thigh, and hip back. Tuck your tailbone in, belly pulls tight. Now take your top arm up and overhead, reaching for the front of the room, palm facing the mat. Wrap that left tricep towards your face, lengthen your right ribs away from your hip. Now can you get light in that right hand and maybe reach your right arm forward as well? Unsupported triangle pose. Breathe. You should make all the faces now because they can't see the camera. And then as you're ready, keep everything, just look down at your front leg. Watch your front knee bend, stack it at your ankle, and then push up and back, reverse warrior. Left hand to left leg, right arm reaches up and back, stretch. Take an inhale. Exhale, cartwheel the hands to the mat. Step back to a three-legged plank. So just hover your right foot back. So you can keep it as it is. If you need to modify, maybe you drop that left knee to the mat like we did in the beginning, but lean forward. Exhale, Ekapada Chaturanga. Inhale, Cobra or Up Dog. You put the tops of both feet down, and then exhale, Downward Dog. From Downward Dog, let's inhale the left leg to the sky. Bend the knee and open the hip. Wrap the outer left shoulder down. Now with an exhale, we pull the knee down and across to your right elbow. Sweep it out to the left, as big of a circle as you can as you lift it up to the sky and open the hip. Now you're going to take that knee back out towards the left as much as you can. Try and keep the inner thigh facing the mat until you pull the knee to your right elbow, and then take it up and back, open the hip. Exhale, knee down and over to the right across the midline. Circle it out to the left and up to the sky. And then take it out wide to the left as way much as you can before you pull it into the right arm. On your own, breath per movement. Just remember, you're reversing the direction of the circle each time. So just being mindful of what you're doing, paying attention to that. Acknowledging your breath. And whatever you're doing, we'll meet with that leg, lifting the hip, opening. Exhale, pull the knee to the chest, stepping next to your left thumb, staying on the back toes. Inhale, reach to the sky, crescent pose. So remember, back knee will bend, allowing you to situate the lower half. Right heel stacks with the ball mount of your foot, the front knee stacks with your ankle. Your pelvis should sit at neutral. So from your hips to your fingertips, you should look and feel as if you're standing in Tadasana. And then once you situate that, pull the lower belly into the spine, but also think of slightly lifting it under the rib cage, Uddiyana Bandha. Then think side splits within your legs. Soften the trapezius, just the muscles down your back as the arms lift up out of your waist. Maybe you even watch your palms get closer together. They may eventually even kiss. But then wherever you're at, pulling your hands to heart center, just lean halfway forward, pause. This is where we anchor into the back leg. Firm the right thigh, pull the lower belly tight, and then twist. Right elbow to the outside of that left knee. Prayer balancing twist. So if we're newer to the practice, this can be enough. The back leg has to be extremely active. That's our support. If it goes weak and wonky, the rest of the pose does the same. Elbows stack, your palms press. And even here, the rest of your torso is actually trying to lift away from the thigh, and you're working your right side ribs towards the leg. Lower belly pulls tight to support the spine. And then if you're comfortable here, if this is enough of a balancing challenge for you, stay. If you need the extra challenge, you'll look down. And it's not a propel. I just want you to learn to lean forward like a teeter-totter. The weight of your head will naturally lift your back foot up. Flex that back foot up in line with your glute, but keep that left knee deeply bent. Keep the spine long, the breath deep. And then even if your right foot's still on the ground, we're all gonna meet in twisting chair. Right heel next to left. Sit the hips down, hug your right hip back. Lengthen through the spine, maybe you expand through the arms, taking flight. Maybe you look up towards the ceiling. And then pressing into the feet, keeping those hips low. Inhale, chair pose. Rise, lift the chest. Exhale, forward fold, let it go. Inhale, flat back. As you exhale, plant the hands, but only step the right foot back. We land in a deep runner's lunge, only to turn the back heel down, and then lead with the right arm, warrior two. So remember, setting up the feet, heel to arch or heel to heel, that is preference. Back toes do turn slightly forward at 10 degrees, so that back leg becomes anchored. That back leg still, you want to think Tadasana. Inner left thigh draws forward, tailbone draws down, the rest of your spine lifts up. Arms expand apart in really every direction. And then just like we did earlier, press the weight into the middle of your front foot to slowly lift the hamstring up to straighten the leg. Pull the left hip crease back. Keep lifting that left hamstring up as your left arm goes further forward. Exhale, hands to 6 and 12 o'clock. Left hand down, right arm up. So remember, work from the base up. It's the back pinky toe and your front big toe. The other toes get light. Knees soften, inner thighs squeeze towards each other. The outer edge of your left leg hugs underneath the pose. Left ribs lengthen away from your hip. Knitting the front ribs in, take the top arm up and overhead, palm facing the mat. Wrapping that right tricep to the face. So remember, lifting and lengthening on those left side ribs. Those are the bottom ribs. Pull the belly in. Maybe the left hand gets light enough to float your left arm forward. Unsupported triangle. The tricky part is not to bend the front knee, but don't lock it out either. Just squeeze those inner thighs together. Press evenly into the feet. Breathe, draw that right shoulder back. Wherever you're at, looking down, just watch the knee bend. Stack it at your ankle first, and then press up and back, reverse warrior. Right hand to right leg, left arm reaches up. Take an inhale. Maybe stretch back. Exhale. Cartwheel your hands down. Step back, high plank, covering the left foot. So remember, option to drop the right knee. We lean forward. Exhale, Ekapada Chaturanga. Inhale, take your back bend with the tops of both feet down. And then exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, we'll take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold that breath at the very top. Open up the mouth. One more. Deep inhale through the nose to hold. This time like a lion, stick out your tongue. And go ahead and just go back to breathing in and out your nose. And if you're with me, we'll go ahead and just step the right foot to the outer edge of your right hand. You may need a bolster, a block, a hand towel, or a bath towel. You're going to drop the back knee and the top of the foot down to the mat, and you might put something under that back knee, even the length of your shins. Slide the back leg back 2 to maybe even 3 or 4 inches. Now I want you to turn your right toes out to the right to maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, and just make sure your knee goes in the same direction. Inner thigh working away from your torso. You can stay up on your hands. If you want to begin to bend your elbows, maybe use books, blocks underneath them. If your forearms can get all the way to the mat, great. General rules, if your right elbow doesn't touch the mat, you don't let your left. If your right elbow is just nearly there, you might slide your left leg a little further back. And then maybe letting your forehead rest on something. So in yin, this is one of the dragon poses. There's 8 variations of it. This one is called dragon flying low, right? We're working our way towards the ground. We're getting into the ligaments and the tendons within the left hip, or the front of the left hip, and even where the quadricep connects in at the patella. If the back of the foot or the top of the foot and that back leg is down, you get into the front of the ankle. And in the right leg, we are tapping into an external rotation. And here I want you to really try to round out your spine. So rather than lengthening the chest forward, begin to pull the front body in and up away from the mat, as if you're trying to actually curl your forehead towards your pubic bone. And then just sit with it, breathe through it. The 8 dragon poses tend to kind of be poses you don't necessarily see a lot of, because I find that people have a little bit more of a challenging time sitting in them for the duration of time that we do. So I throw them in the practice occasionally, because it's good to be faced with those poses that we don't necessarily like doing. The poses that we avoid. You hear it all the time that those are always the poses that we really need to do the most. So if you're sitting here, closing the eyes, just begin to notice on what level you are resisting, whether that is physically speaking, muscles are tightening, tensing, from the tips of your toes up through the hips, along the back and through the shoulders, all the way down to the fingertips. Notice all the little muscles in your face. From the jaw clenching, really feeling it at that space where it connects in at the ear. The little muscles on the corner of your eyes, the center of your forehead, maybe even the back of your skull. We forget that there are, within the skull, we have little connective tendons down at the base of the skull, the sub-occipital lobes. Muscles that run behind the ears. Using every exhale to just melt any tension and resistance. And knowing that is even a process in itself. If you ever watch an ice cube melt, it's not that it just completely dissolves into water right away. But it's a process. And just like in the beginning, I mentioned that being present, the resisting of the fidgeting, that's going to be a continuous thing we have to check in with. Especially now, as we now approach those moments where we sit still for a bit longer. Whereas in the first half, that vinyasa or power style, we're pretty much moving from one pose to the next. So there's not much time to kind of allow the mind to wander. So without rushing out, pulling the belly in, you're going to slowly step up onto the hands, stacking them under the shoulders. You can press into the palms, press into the back shin and knee, and just go ahead and take that right leg back. You're going to kind of be more on all fours. Circle that right hip around, hovering the knee in both directions, just like we did in our yang portion. Then once you're ready, you'll set it down, tuck the toes, lift the hips. And from downward dog, we'll step the left foot to the outer edge of your left hand. Dropping the back knee, top of the foot down. Remember, add some cushion if you need it, because we are here for a while and you don't want to create any pain in the left knee. Turn your left toes out to one, maybe to or now it's more like 11 or 10 o'clock. Knee goes in that same direction. You begin to work on bending your elbows. The forearms might set on props. You might work your way all the way down, finding something for the forehead to rest on. And remember, really trying to round out the spine. So it's not going to be as dramatic as it would be, say, in like a seated forward fold, but you are trying to pull the lower belly, the front ribs, even the sternum bone up towards the ceiling to kind of get that cat-like movement in the spine. Closing your eyes and just taking a quick scan of the body. And that may not necessarily be quick, as you do want to check in with every part, from the tips of your toes all the way to the crown of your head, everything in between, down each extremity. Noticing even the little things that we normally wouldn't pay attention to. And once you've scanned the body and you've consciously told it to relax and release to the best of its ability, land on your breath. Remember, in and out the nose, as slowly and as deeply as you can. If you can become conscious of that, then try to consciously kind of drag the breath up across the top of your nasal cavity and down the back of your throat. But try to keep the throat soft. So even as you inhale, almost as if you're getting that feeling in the throat of yawning. Expanding the throat so you can take deeper breaths. And just make sure that the exhales, they line up with your inhales. So they're the same amount of time, if not maybe even a little bit longer. We have developed this nasty habit of selling ourselves short when it comes to exhales. And then we hold on or build these little pockets down in the bottom of chambers of our lung of dormant or stale air or energy. Last few breaths. And then on an exhale, so you can use your belly pulling in to support the spine, you'll slowly step up onto your hands. Press into the back knee and shins. You can slowly take the left leg back, finding that all four shapes, circling out that left knee, flossing out the hip, bringing some fluid back in. And as you're ready, you'll set that shin down. Go ahead and just sit your hips to the middle of your mat, and we'll open the legs up the length of our mat for a straddled split. So by no means do your legs have to be horizontal. They can definitely be more like a V shape. But find your sit bones. It's very important that you grab the cushion, aka butt cheek, and pull it back behind you. So you do kind of find the sit bones directly into the mat. The tailbone and lower back should not be rounding underneath you, as that can aggravate sciatica. Now you're gonna just take both hands and frame your left leg, cupping the earth with the fingertips of your hands. Begin to rotate that right hip bone in the front of your body. Think of rotating that towards your inner left thigh as you wrap your right ribs, the torso, and begin to round out the spine, crawling your legs or crawling down the length of your leg. And for most of us, the forehead's not going to come anywhere near that left leg. So if it does hit the leg, I want you to do a little less. Use a bolster or a pillow on top of it, letting your forehead rest heavy. You could put a block on the inside, and if you're kind of more mobile within the spine and can get that deep twist, the block may even go outside your leg. But again, you are trying to wrap that right hip bone, your right side ribs, your right shoulder down towards your inner left thigh. And then notice if you're doing what you've been told to do time and time again, flexing the feet and wrapping the toes back, allow your legs to just soften and go passive. You could even allow that right sit bone to kind of begin to lift now as all the weight shifts more into the left sit bone. Let your shoulders round out and get heavy so elbows sag to the mat if they don't even touch the mat. And just remembering in the moments of silence and stillness, it's really your job to attune yourself more to the internal. Whether it's the dialogue of the mind, maybe the mind sits on physical sensation. And if it does, that actually makes your job much easier. And so those who are kind of more bendy, who don't necessarily feel the physical sensation, whose job actually gets much harder. Because they have to take the practice even deeper. Noticing the mind, thoughts, patterns, habits, wants, desires. And if your mind is relatively still, then begin to notice if you can feel movement within the energetic body, the meridian lines, or the nadi system. And that can be kind of warm, kind of like tingling or pins and needles, maybe swirly, bubbly sensations, warm or cool, almost like waves of breath inside the body. And if it's not movement you feel, maybe it's stagnant energy, places that feel locked, closed off, blocked up. And it's really those places that you want to focus your breath on. It's like a river, right? That over time, sticks, leaves, and debris begin to get caught on rocks. And with enough of it, it creates stagnation. And that stagnant water, different microbes and bacteria, moss, algae, mosquitoes begin to build. But within that blockage, as we come out of this, hopefully you'll feel kind of a push of energy opening it up and flushing it out. So keep your mind focused on that blockage, and on an exhale, you're going to very slowly begin to roll your spine up, press into your hands, and come all the way back up. Keep your focus on that place that was feeling closed off. See if there's a difference as you come all the way up. And then take both hands and cup the earth framing your right leg. Take your props with you. Begin to wrap your left hip bone, the left side ribs, the left shoulder towards that right leg. Round out your spine, pulling the belly and front ribs in, and then crawl your hands down, letting your forehead come to rest somewhere. Second to last pose. Remember, the weight will shift more into the right leg. The left sit bone can lift and kind of disconnect. The feet can soften. They may flop forward, they may stay upright, they may even kind of flop back. It just depends on how your femur bones anchor into the hips. The shoulders should get heavy. The eyes close, the face softens. And depending on where your practice is at, you either focus on the physical, mental, the subtle body. You may even begin to notice emotions, as that is a huge portion of working within the energetic body. The energetic body is in charge of receiving, feeling, processing, and letting go of all the different emotions we experience within life. And oftentimes it's those emotions that create those blockages as we try to hold on to things. But really, we should learn to let go of all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly. In Taoism, there's no such thing as positive or negative emotions, but it is the holding on to that creates the imbalance, and imbalance is where we throw the harmony of our body and mind off. So we're just trying to bring ourselves back into balance. I want you to try and take 4 more deep breaths, but try and get those inhales and exhales to be anywhere between 7 to 15 seconds long. And even if they are only 5 seconds long, that's where you max out at, that's fine. But just take as long and as slow inhales and exhales as you can. And rather than focusing on the places that feel open and nice, send that breath to places that do feel closed off and blocked up. So you should be about on your 3rd breath. And taking one more final cycle. And with your next exhale, remember, roll your spine up, press into the palms, pull your belly tight, take your time, vertebrae by vertebrae, walk up. Once your shoulders are over your hips, take both hands under one of the legs, bending the knee, lifting the leg up, and pulling it to meet the other, at the front or back of your mat, whatever direction you want to face. Bend the knees, grab the backs of your thighs, and we'll slowly roll down. Setting up Savasana as you need it. If you want to put a bolster or something under the spine, under your legs, be my guest. Take your arms out and away from the sides of your body, palms face up. You can really take up as much shape or space as you want. In yin, they call it the pentacle pose. And just use this as one big exhale, a final place to let go and release. And once you have given yourself permission to do so, let go of your breath and just allow it to fall back to a natural rhythm where you no longer have to think about it. Let the mind go blank. Allow yourself the opportunity to step aside. And as the body and mind become grounded, allow yourself to become weightless, having as close to an out-of-body experience as you can get. And this is it. Just let yourself rest. The search for spiritual knowledge is difficult, but to act on it is even more so. Quote from my spiritual teacher, but all of us are on a quest or a search after truth. You, the eternal spirit soul that is temporarily within this material body, at some point or another begins to ask the questions. Well, who am I really? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? Is there a God? Is there not a God? And unfortunately, in today's day and age, that quest or search is quite difficult, as there's a lot of misinformation out there. And especially within the yoga world, you'll kind of find that the further and longer it has gotten from its source, the more diluted, changed, or altered it gets. And so to come along and find a true vein of spiritual truth is difficult. It comes few and far between. But then to act on it is a whole nother ballgame. It can be very confronting and very challenging, as it makes us really put ourselves under a microscope, looking at all the things that we know we need to change, whether that's bad habits, people we associate with, food we eat, things we put in, on, and around our body. And so many of us, we have lived our lives in a certain way for 20, 30, 40, 50 plus years. And to completely uproot or change that is difficult. But a spiritual life is just like the practice of asana. It comes in steps. It takes practice and commitment. And the more you can commit to it and push past those points of discomfort and challenge, you'll be met with something very beautiful and rewarding on the other side. So let us begin to wiggle the toes, the fingers. Roll out the ankles, the wrists. You can stretch your arms up and overhead, point to the toes. Stretch the body long. And as you're ready, go ahead and gently roll to your right or left hand side, whatever feels right. You can use your arm as a pillow, draw the knees towards your chest. Then slowly walk yourself up to a comfortable seat, whatever that is for your body. At this time is up to you. You can rest your hands on your knees in your lap or bring them to heart center. Sit up tall, close your eyes, and just come back to your breath. So just remember that when those questions arise, I implore you to push past those moments of resistance. And just knowing that you will be better off for it in every sense of the word. So just something to take with you and work with beyond the rubber mat. On that note, namaste.